Hello, I'm Michael Finley of Santa Clarita, California. I'm a write-in presidential candidate for 2016, and it's time for me to explain another one of my platform points. This is platform point number 8, which talks about the need for restoring lands to the public that have been claimed by the federal government and are under federal government control, and also the importance of getting rid of the Bureau of Land Management. You might wonder, what's the big deal? Why is this an important point? How does this affect our freedoms? Well, the land of the United States that is not privately owned belongs to the people. It belongs to you and me. It's our land. Remember the song, "This land is our land"? This land is your land, this land is my land. You know that song? Okay, well, that's what we're talking about. This is our land. The federal government has taken control of a considerable amount of additional land, and the excuses that they've used to take control of that land appear to be bogus. We're going to talk about just a few things and how the Bureau of Land Management is involved in this. Let's start by talking about the American Wild Mustang. This is a horse that was found on this land by the explorers, and there is a dispute out there about their origin. Some people believe that they are descendants of horses that were brought here by the first explorers. Some people believe that the horses were always here. But DNA evidence says conclusively, and it's not disputed to my knowledge, that these horses at some point originated on the North American continent. So whether they're native of here and they took a vacation for a while and came back, or whether they stayed here the whole time, they're natives of this land. And the Bureau of Land Management has been clearing them off the land. Now they're doing a program that's kind of fun in some ways because they have opportunities for people to buy Mustangs. There's even some opportunities for people to have Mustangs that have been tamed by prisoners in programs where the prisoners get an opportunity to train the Mustangs, try to tame them a bit, and get them saddle ready. In fact, I'm interested in getting one myself. Not in a position to do that at this time. But when I am, I may do that. I love Mustangs. I think they're beautiful creatures. But the idea that the federal government is taking over land, usually with the excuse of wanting to protect native species, is obviously bogus. Let's give you another example. Let's look at the Bundy Ranch situation in Nevada. Now, I don't care what you think of Bundy, because that's not the issue. I know some people support him, some people don't support him, don't like him, but let's talk about the federal government and what they did there. The federal government seized control of land that had been under state and county control for many, many decades, really over a century, and they did this supposedly for the purpose of protecting desert tortoises, endangered desert tortoises. Well, let me show you how that is clearly not their reason for taking control of the land. Bureau of Land Management took control of this land, and what did they do to protect the desert tortoises? They rounded them up. They took about 1,400 tortoises off of the land that is their native land. And what did they do with them? They put them in a facility. They rounded them up into a facility. Now, a lot of Native Americans are going to really identify with this, being rounded up off of your native land and put on a reservation. It's not anything that represents freedom, okay? So they have these 1,400 desert tortoises rounded up. So how is cattle grazing endangering those tortoises when they're not on the land anymore? The answer is, it's not. Then, because they weren't properly taken care of, because they weren't allowed to live in their native environment where they would thrive, about half of those tortoises got sick, and so they euthanized 700 of the 1,400 tortoises that were gathered up. So where is the protection of the desert tortoise that was the alleged reason for taking over that land? The answer is there's no protection for the desert tortoise. They killed half of the desert tortoises they could find. If they had just left them alone on that land and left that land belonging to the public as it did before, 700 more desert tortoises that are endangered would be alive today. So this whole thing about the Bureau of Land Management, it's nonsense. They're getting rid of mustangs, they're getting rid of tortoises, they're ruining all kinds of things. And what is our federal government doing with this land, by the way? Well, not the exact land that that was at issue in the Bundy dispute, but some of the federally controlled land in Nevada. This individual named Harry Reid, a senator from Nevada, sorry, trying to bite my tongue really, really hard there. Harry Reid has been trying to make deals with large corporate interests, primarily from China, regarding a profitable solar farm to be put on this land. Okay? How does a solar farm protect desert tortoises? It doesn't. So we have politicians trying to make deals that'll be profitable for the wealthy and big corporate interests, instead of leaving the land alone and leaving the species alone to thrive there. By the way, Nevada is one of the places that the BLM, or Bureau of Land Management, has been rounding up wild mustangs and having them become privatized, privately owned animals. Instead of allowing them as living, breathing beings on this planet to be themselves and thrive in their own natural environment. Now, I have nothing against solar energy. I love it, in fact. I think it's wonderful. I think it should be continued to be explored. I have a problem with the federal government lying to you and me, harming the species that they claim to be there to protect, and then abusing our land, your land and my land, for the benefit of the wealthy. That's what I have a problem with. It needs to stop. The Bureau of Land Management needs to be disbanded. Now, I said in my platform point that I would restore all land that the federal government has taken over since 1976. So whatever was controlled by the federal government beforehand would be restored. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, so nobody can call me a liar later when I'm in office. There is a possibility that I'll find that some specific pieces of land that are controlled by the federal government since 1976 have a legitimate purpose for federal control that is not being abused. And in those cases, it's possible that there's some land that I would not return, because if it's properly being preserved for the public and used in a way that benefits the public and our environment, I might say, well, that land will leave under federal control. But my goal is to stop the abuse of public land by the federal government. If you want that to happen, you need to remember my name. Michael D. Finley of Santa Clarita, California. You're going to need to write it in on your ballot in 2016, because I won't join a political party. I disagree with them, and I will not accept a single dollar of campaign contributions to fund this campaign. Therefore, my name will not be on the ballot in most of the country. If you have a state where you can get my name on the ballot without having to have a political party and without having to have campaign contributions and all that, and you want to help get my name on the ballot, I would welcome that. I would also welcome, if you like what I have to say, share the message. Please, tweet about it, post about it on Facebook. use some hashtags. My favorite hashtags are Michael Finley 2016, Join the Write-In Revolution, Free Presidential Campaign, and Fix America. If you have some other hashtags you like, that's fine too. If you don't like me, you can tweet about that too if you want. It's your right. It's a free country. But so far, almost everybody that hears these messages likes what I have to say. You and I can make this happen. We don't need an oligarchy of the top 10% of the wealthiest Americans to fund a campaign in order to make things happen. I refuse to become a political prostitute. I refuse to sell my soul to those wealthy people and corporate interests. I want to have no conflict of interest with the American people so that I can represent you to the best of my ability and to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. Thank you.